Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming. Obviously, we want to make our photography team bigger. I know that Paola says she's been helping us a lot lately, so thank you. But we want to, yeah, applause. We want to have more people be more knowledgeable with photography. I know that Paola, she sings a lot, so sometimes, like, when she's singing, I'm like, hey, nomás te bajas, you have to go take some pictures. So we want to have more people. And basically, this is an intro to photography. It's not everything because it's just a theory. I want you to learn like all the stuff that the terms that go into photography. So we're gonna go ahead and start. So does any of y'all know what exposure is? Exposure? No? You know? Yeah, it has to do with the light. So basically, exposure. The camera has pixels inside the sensor, right? And the exposure is how much you activate those pixels. So you can force the pixels to either get more light or less light. But when you do that, you degrade the image quality. So if you're outside, it's sunny day, you can have an exposure of 100, and your picture is really clear. But let's say once the sun starts going down, the way exposure works is that 100 is less exposure, and it can go up to 1800, 3000 exposure, which is the more exposure is the less quality of the image. So when it's at night, you can bump it up to 1000, and you can see better, but the image starts getting more pixelated. I don't know if y'all seen like an old TV, you can see all the little like pixels and stuff. That's because the exposure is really high. So there's three elements to exposure, and it's everything goes by there's like a triangle. We can do like a triangle. Oh crap! My God! Thank you. Oh, disconnected. Wait, no, I got it. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Daniela. Okay, so like I said, we have three elements of exposure. We have shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. All these elements affect the image quality and light going into the camera. So like I said, it's a triangle. So if you move one, it affects the other one. So let's say if you move the ISO, which is how bright you want your image, it's gonna affect the aperture. If you move the shutter speed, which is how fast the sensor captures the image, it's gonna affect the ISO. So you can't move none of them and expect not to affect them, not for it to affect each other. So it's a balance. You have to basically know. Right now with our camera, I know that we've been shooting in automatic. So basically the camera has like a little AI system, and it just chooses for you. But the goal is for us to learn what to do, because sometimes the camera doesn't get it right every single time. Um, so right here we see the values. So like I said, ISO is between 100 to 12,800. So 100 is the least of it, and 12,800 is like really high. Shutter speed, like I said, is shutter speed is how fast the camera gets the shot. Yeah, sorry, I forget. Okay, yeah. So let's say an example for shutter speed. So I don't know how if y'all ever taken a picture, and then it comes out blurry. Like you take a picture and it's like se mira la hand all like blurry. So that has to do with shutter speed. So like let's say if you're gonna go take a picture of a basketball game or a soccer game, you want to have your shutter speed as high as possible. So basically, it's 1/1000th of a second. So that's gonna be fast. That's gonna stop. When you see pictures, you have to see like as a video, right? So usually it goes hand in hand. So you want to stop the video really fast, and then that's gonna capture your image. Now if you let it run like 1/15, it's gonna take more time to take the picture. So like, if you're taking a picture of a waterfall and you want to have like an effect of like blurriness on it, you would do it a really slow shutter speed. So like if you want to, let's say we're here, someone's taking pictures, and then you take a picture y la mano del pastor está toda blurry like this. That means your shutter speed is too low. So you have to crank it up to 1/500. Usually 1/250 is good because we're not doing anything. No, the opposite. So the higher the number is for shutter speed, is the faster it captures it, and the lower it is the lower it's gonna capture it. Aperture, aperture is in a value of f. So f22, f16. So I know that right now with our iPhones mimic like the aperture. So when we take a picture, and y'all take a picture with portrait mode with your iPhone, right? It makes a blurry background, but it's not actually the aperture. It's just that the iPhone does like a little blurriness effect on it in the back. It's not the real aperture. With cameras, you can actually do that effect, which is basically you're separating the focus, the background from the person. So like if you're gonna take a portrait, you're telling the camera, I want you to focus on this person, and I don't care what anything's in the back. So it makes the background really blurry. So usually the lower the aperture, so aperture f1.4 is gonna give you that blurry background. A high aperture f22 it's not gonna give you that blurry background, but it's gonna have more things in focus. So if you're gonna take like a big picture of a landscape, like if you go to Guatemala and you're like, oh, it looks really nice, you wouldn't want to take an aperture of 1.4 because it's only gonna focus maybe like the cow that's in front or something, or maybe like a car or a tree, and then everything else is gonna be blurry. You want a high aperture so you can get everything in focus. So like if you're taking a picture like that you're gonna print out like a poster or something, you want a high aperture. But like if you're gonna take some portraits for like a wedding or like a quinceañera or something, you don't care what's going on in the back. You want to take a picture of the quinceañera or the groom or the bride, right? So you're only worrying about that person. So you're only you lowering the aperture to 1.4. Any questions about aperture and shutter speed? Do y'all understand it? Y'all do? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so let's say do an example. So if I'm going, I'm gonna go out, take some pictures at night of some vintage neo signs. Have y'all seen the neo signs? They're like old vintage signs. So if I'm gonna go out and take pictures of that, what's gonna be my ISO, low or high? I did. Low. Yeah, correct. Low. Because there's not a lot of light. There's not a lot of light. So you're gonna have to bump the ISO up so you can get more light. If I'm going to Formula One racetrack, I want to take pictures of the cars racing. What's gonna be my shutter speed setting? High, so I can capture the car. Because if it's low and the car passes, I'm not gonna get I'm not gonna get the car. It's gonna be super blurry and not gonna. And there's some reasons that you might want to break the rules later on. Some people like getting the blurriness, but first we have to grasp the regular stuff. So if we're gonna take a picture, let's say someone's preaching. It's a really close-up picture. We want them in focus, but we want to just highlight them. We don't want to get the congregation in the back. What's gonna be my aperture reading? So 1.4, 1.8, 2.0. Now if we're taking a picture like of all the church, have you seen that picture over there in the back? So what aperture would I use for that? F22, because we want to get everybody clear. Good. So this is an example of shutter speed. So right here, can anybody guess what shutter speed setting is this? High or low? Own it. Say high or low. Everybody say something. So Joanna, what do you think? Is it high or low? Okay. Daniela, you think it's low? Sulmi, high, low. Nancy, huh? It's low. Okay. So you're correct. It's low. It's it's low. Why is that low? Because we see the cars. They're blurry, right? If it was high, it would be just frozen in time. Everything would be clear. So again, what shutter speed is the length of time the shutter is open. So in the camera, we have a shutter. It's like a curtain, basically, right? So with old cameras, once they start doing the first cameras, the way they did it is they used like photo something paper, which is it was like little pixels that were photosensitive, which is mean they react to light. So the way they would take a picture, they'll get a curtain, they'll lift the curtain, the sun will hit the pixels, and then they'll close the curtain. So that's how you get a picture. That's back in the day. That's why when you see the old pictures, you see the guys with the stand and they have like a curtain on top of them and they're taking the picture. Same thing, but now the shutter is inside the camera. So the sensor is exposed and then you have the shutter. That's the shutter speed. If we go to the next one, so shutter speed is the length of time the shutter is open. Do you want to show the motion? You want to show motion or stop time? So same thing for like I said. So if you want to show motion blurriness, shutter speed is going to be low. If you want to stop it, get a super clean focus picture, shutter speed is high. So right here we can see an example. Shutter speed is half a second. Why do we know this? Everything is blurry. Some things are in focus, though things that are not moving. But like the people, and this is a really popular kind of photography that a lot of people like doing. But like if we take a picture of that and we post it, people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's not in focus." So let's go to the next one. So right here we can see the shutter speed. It's less. So 1/21 seconds. You can still see a little bit by the stairs, some blurriness. So another kind that you want low shutter speed. This is an example, like a waterfall I was saying. So if you want to capture the waterfall, just like your eye seeing it, you would do 1/20. But there's a really popular effect with a low shutter speed, especially with waterfalls, which is this picture right here. As you can see, the blurriness makes it like milky water. It looks like that. It's like blurriness, right? So a lot of people like that kind of photography. I think it's pretty cool, but cada quien, so. All right, so right here, we can see a shutter speed of 1/25. So everything's frozen, the waves. Right here, we're seeing a shutter speed of 15 seconds. So you can see everything's blurry, the water's blurry. So basically, a shutter speed of 15 seconds is that they basically have a tripod, they click it, and they have to wait 15 seconds for the picture to take. You have to wait there. And you can't move the camera, because if you move the camera, it's going to mess it up. Because it's basically taking a small video, and then it's freezing it, which is a shutter speed of 15 seconds. So right here, a drag strip. Oh, my bad. Okay. There we go. Okay, so a shutter speed of 1/100, 1/400. We see the erasers. You can freeze that. Let's say, if you want to use capture something that's going really fast or stop it in time, we would do a high shutter speed like this one. So basically, the guy's hitting the other guy in the head, but we want to capture the glass breaking. If we have a slow shutter speed, we won't capture that. So, also, like if you wanna, for 4th of July, if you wanna take pictures of the fireworks, it'll be best to do a slow shutter speed, so you can get everything. If a dog isn't running, or like someone is running in a marathon, that's fast because their hands are moving. So we want to capture that. Just another example. So The bottom picture right here is another popular type of photography. So a lot of people like going to the streets or to the freeways or to a bridge and then taking a picture of the cars because you can see like all the lights with the slow shutter speed. Any questions about shutter speed? You're understanding it? Yeah? Okay. Is English good? Spanish? I mean, English is better? Okay. All right. So aperture. So like I said, so now in aperture, thank you. Aperture. Um, so aperture basically like I was saying, the focus where you want the lens to focus. So aperture, the amount of light let into the camera. Do you want a single object in focus or the entire scene? So basically, one of the downfalls of aperture is that you let more light in. So most of the time, if you're taking a picture outside, I know that right here we take pictures inside, but let's say if we're gonna go to like last time there was a youth camp, right? Let's say if there was a photographer over there, and they want to get a really blurry background of someone with a blurry background. That's good, but the only thing is that once you have the aperture low, it's gonna let more light in. So the picture's gonna be really overexposed, which is gonna be really bright. High highlights, bad darks. So what do you do in that instance? So you have to either put the shutter speed high, or buy a filter. Because there's no way of lowering it unless if you buy it's basically sunglasses for your lens, right? So you have to have a filter on it. So basically right here, like I want you to see, y'all see that little image right here where it says f2.8, f1.4, f5.6, f18, f11, f16, f22. So basically that's the aperture, right? So when y'all see the f2.8, the aperture, which is the little ring, it's really open, so you get a lot of light in, which for some instances is good, but when you have a harsh light outside, that's not you don't want that. So you're gonna have to compensate. If you see an f22, because we want everything clear, it's really close enough. It's really close. I don't know, like, have you noticed that have y'all noticed that if you have like a little pinpoint thing in front of y'all, I can focus better? So let's say if you wear glasses, right? If I take off my glasses right now, right? If I squint, I can see better. Why is that? Because I'm looking through I'm focusing through a little hole, right? Same thing with the camera. So the camera, once 2.8 is, you get a lot of light, f22, low light, but everything's more in focus. So right here, so if you're taking like a picture for like advertising, I know it says vodka, but it's okay. It's Coke Zero. So right here, basically we're seeing that everything's in focus, right? f22. Once we do f4, what happens? The background gets blurry. We're focusing only on that first drink right there. f2.8. This is like usually like when you see a professional photography, this is what you think about. Like, okay, everything's focused, everything, and the back is blurry. So f22, everything's in focus, right? f8. Now, not always the camera's gonna react the same thing. So basically, there's a thing called depth perception. It's basically how far away how far the background is in the back of the camera. So like, if you stand right here, and the camera's right here, it'll be easier for the background to get blurry. But let's say if I'm taking a picture of Nancy, and then someone's over there way in the back, it's gonna be harder for it to be blurry because she's not as close to the camera or the focal point. Which that's what we can see right here. She's right there in front of the camera, but the background, it's kind of blurry, but it's not really blurry, and it's a high aperture. Right here, we can see aperture of 2.5. It's really blurry, sorry. Really blurry, okay? Okay, same thing, an example. So right here on the left, we have an aperture 2.8. You see the trophies are in focus, the aperture, the bike is not in focus. So in the right, we have a aperture f16. The bike is in focus and the trophies are in focus. Another example right here. So, like I said, so if you want to focus on something, as y'all can see, the aperture is really tricky because it's hard to get focus. So when you see this lady right here, you can see the wine in the front. The wine is not in focus. And then she's in focus, and the background's not in focus. So to get a nice picture with a low aperture is sometimes hard. You have to play with it because sometimes it might focus on one thing but not the other. If you see right here, the bottom, there's a aperture of f8. We're taking a picture of a landscape because you want everything in focus. So here's another example. So right here with this right picture, the right bottom picture, we have a aperture of 4.8. But what will be our shutter speed? High or low? High. Okay, yeah, high, correct. Because obviously the horse, it's a fast-moving object, so we want to freeze it. All right, so now we're going to go in a little bit more to ISO. We just touched a little bit in the beginning. So ISO is sensitivity to light, basically. So the higher the ISO number, the quicker the sensor reacts to light. You're activating those sensors, so little sensors inside the camera. How much light is available? Is it night or are you inside, basically? So usually a rule of thumb is to get the best image quality, you want to have a ISO 100. That's the least. Once you start losing light, like let's say it starts getting darker outside, you'll start bumping that up. So ISO 400, ISO of 800. Like I said, it's going to start decreasing the image. So like I said, in the old days, this was film speed. So this was like, they'll open the curtain, get it in. So if we see this triangle right here, again, it's a loop. So we have shutter speed. The aperture, and right here on this side, we have the ISO. So ISO 100, really sharp image, really clean image. ISO 3200, it gives us a really grainy image, really pixelated. We don't want that. There's some ways to fix it nowadays with like Photoshop and stuff, but it's best to just get it in the first time that having to go and edit it afterwards. Okay, so this is an example. So ISO of 100. You can see that's a good quality image. You can see every little detail. Once we go to ISO of 3200, did y'all see it? Okay. I was waiting for like a reaction, but okay, it's fine. I'm playing. Okay, so ISO of 3200, you can see it starts getting really, really pixelated, right? Now, like I said, sometimes it's better to shoot with something in the dark. When you're shooting in the dark, it's better to use a higher ISO. So even though it's not going to give you the best image, but you're still going to capture a lot of light. So right here, ISO 1600, we're still seeing the snowman and everything. ISO 100, better image. No, actually looks sharper. Yeah. Yeah, correct. The other one was more pixelated. So let's see a comparison. All right. So ISO 100, really clear image. ISO 1600, pixelated. So ISO 400. Now, why does it look good in ISO 400? Because we have light sources. We have the light from the house, and we have the light from this pole right here. So the camera is capturing that. So that's why it looks good. Now, if we bump it up, ISO 2000, it's going to look a little bit more grainy. But it's not a lot of difference because you still have light. We're going to skip that. That's fine. Okay, so like I said, the 3 elements of exposure are shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. Shutter speed controls the duration of how much light it's allowed to reach the sensor. The aperture controls the amount of light going into the camera, and the ISO controls the sensitivity of your camera sensor to light, basically. Do I really understand, más o menos? Okay. All right, so we're going to see a quick video. If you can have the audio ready, Irene, please. This is just a little tips. We just went over the fundamentals right now. What time is it? 1:23? Okay, we still have time, an hour. We're going to see some videos, and then we're going to go over with the camera and over some slides also. You ready? Is it playing? Can you play it right there? Oh, I paused it? Oh, crap. Oh, no. Wait.
What's the first one?
Okay, there we go.
All right. I got it. Photographing a service can be tricky business. Obviously, you want to get a good shot, but it is not difficult to become a distraction. On top of that, you're often dealing with less than ideal lighting, swaths of empty seats to avoid, and the hundreds of ridiculous faces that your pastor manages to make over the course of a sermon. It is easy to feel like an unwelcome visitor when shooting a service, but it doesn't need to be that way. Today, we're going to cover how to effectively shoot a church service without looking like an idiot. Welcome to Black Bar. Hi, I'm Caleb, and today we're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts of church service photography. We're going to go step by step, focusing on shooting before the service, during worship, during the sermon, and the altar call, so you're prepared for every step of the process. Before we even pick up a camera, however, it's important to understand what your goals are. In most cases, it's not a good idea to shoot a church service like a wedding. When shooting a wedding, a photographer's goal is usually to capture a little bit of everything. The dress, the venue, the ceremony, the reception. Simply put, there's almost definitely too many things happening in your church on a Sunday for you to photograph them all effectively. The good thing is you get another opportunity to shoot every single week. Figure out what it is you're trying to accomplish. Do you want to communicate the warm community at your church? Maybe powerful worship, good teaching, diversity. Pick 2 or 3 of these things and focus on them entirely. Understanding the goal of your photography will impact what you shoot, when you shoot, and where you shoot. In addition, you should be thinking about where these photos are going to end up. For example, if you're taking photos with the intention of using them as backgrounds for slides, you need to make sure that you're leaving extra empty space for text. If you're covering a special event, you'll want to capture smiling faces and diversity. If you're taking pictures to spice up your Instagram stories, you need to be shooting in portrait, not landscape. Again, the more information you have about what your goals are prior to shooting, the better your chances of success. Also, I'd highly suggest identifying your photographers with a badge or a lanyard or a t-shirt. That symbol of legitimacy not only makes the photographer's job easier, but it helps your congregation understand that they're not being photographed by some random creeps off the street. Trust me, their peace of mind is worth the extra time and effort. So, let's run through a typical church service. First is pre-service. If your goal is to capture community at your church, this is your prime time. This is likely your longest opportunity to find people talking and laughing and enjoying the fellowship of others. When it comes time to shoot, I'd recommend using a longer zoom lens and shooting candids from a distance. You're likely to get more natural faces and poses from people who don't know they're being photographed. In fact, when possible, I try to shoot with a buddy. Although they have a camera as well, I often use them as a sort of body shield. We'll pretend that we're having a conversation with my buddy facing me, and I'll be shooting over their shoulder towards our intended subject. You can also send them out to distract the subject by having them look towards them for a photo, while you get a more natural photo from out of sight. Yes, I know how creepy this sounds. Yes, It doesn't help that I'm 6'4" and wear almost exclusively black. However, if you're shooting from far enough away, you're quick, and you manage to avoid eye lines, you can really get some great natural shots. If you do decide to get in closer for more intimate shots, tell your intended subject that you're with the church and ask them if it's okay to photograph them. Be friendly, ask politely, and thank them when you're done. Try to shoot as fast as possible, as no one likes getting their photo taken, especially when they weren't expecting it. They are doing you a favor, be sure to express your gratitude. Also, in my experience, people often ask where the photos are going to end up. Having a good answer can mean the difference between you looking like a creep or a pro. Again, know what your goals are before you begin shooting. If anyone ever asks you not to shoot them or to delete a photo of them, just comply. Although you are well within your legal rights to take photos of any adult that you please, it's simply not worth the potential damage of that visitor's perception of your church's staff or volunteers. While we're on the subject of legality, I should probably mention the minefield that is photographing minors under the age of 13. Simply put, in America, you cannot publish any photo of an identifiable minor without permission from a parent or a guardian. This rule is often broken at churches, but there are serious legal consequences for organizations that don't comply with COPPA, or the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. We'll likely do a video entirely on this subject eventually, but I'd suggest doing further research on the topic if you're looking to take photos at your church's children's or youth ministries. Second, let's talk about worship. Funnily enough, I have found that most congregants are actually relatively lenient when it comes to worship photography. In most situations, the congregation is standing, making it easier to move around the sanctuary without disrupting the service. In addition, there's lots of noise happening, so you don't have to worry about the sound of a constant barrage of camera shutter noises. That being said, your biggest issue in this situation is likely going to be light, or the lack thereof. Chances are the stage is very well lit, but the house is very dark. Attempting to get a photo with both exposed well is nearly impossible without incredibly expensive gear or control of the lighting. If your camera can, I'd highly suggest shooting in RAW instead of JPEG. You will need a proper photo editing program like Photoshop or Lightroom to open the file, but shooting in RAW allows you to take advantage of your camera's full depth of dynamic range. You see, cameras measure light in units called stops. One of the biggest differentiating features for cheap versus expensive cameras is the amount of stops of brightness a camera can handle in a single photo. For example, shooting a worship scene with low dynamic range would likely result in a properly exposed stage but completely black crowd. If you expose for the crowd, the stage would be entirely white. Every ounce of detail in the underexposed or overexposed portions is completely lost. If you do shoot in RAW with a camera with a higher dynamic range, however, you can pull a lot of those details back in post, giving you a much more interesting, professional photo. As a pro tip for shooting worship services, focus most of your energy on the very first and the very last song of the set. The first song is when you should be shooting the stage. In a typical service, the first song usually serves as a sort of energetic kickoff. The worship team should look the most alive during this track. In most of the services I've been to, however, it usually takes a couple minutes for the congregation to loosen up. When the last song of the set comes on, it's time to turn the camera around. This is almost always the emotional peak of worship. Search for impassioned worshipers, raised hands if your church is into that kind of thing, and the like. However, be considerate. Don't go running around shoving your camera in the face of every person having a powerful worship experience. A good photo of a powerful moment should always be second in priority to the moment itself. Next is the sermon. Shooting the sermon is probably the most dangerous when it comes to being a distraction. The congregation is all sitting down, making it harder to move around discreetly, and unless you have an upset baby or two, the pastor is the only one speaking, making it very quiet. More than any other section, I highly suggest understanding what your goals are prior to shooting the sermon. You should be trying to get everything you can as fast as possible to avoid being an unnecessary distraction. If you're trying to get close-ups of your pastor preaching, try to find an empty seat towards the front as worship is coming to a close. If you're lucky, you'll be able to snag a front row seat and blend in with the crowd as they sit down. Chances are you don't need dozens of pictures of your pastor preaching this Sunday. In my experience, I usually only need one or two. Once you get a great shot from that angle, it's time to move. I'd suggest trying to wait until the audience is reacting to a section of the sermon. They could be laughing or clapping, shouting saying amen, whatever. The unrest will make it easier for you to slip out unnoticed. As another pro tip, if your pastor uses a microphone that they hold or a Bible or an iPad in their hand, try to shoot them from the side of the sanctuary that matches their occupied hand. In my experience, pastors will often use their free hand to gesture, regularly obscuring their face if you're shooting from the opposite side. Shooting their open side will leave their face unobstructed and make them feel more expressive and open. If instead you're trying to shoot the congregation or the entire sanctuary, the likely have a different issue to contend with. Unless you're in the middle of a revival or you are in desperate need of an extra service or a new building, you will likely have the occasional empty seat. No church that I have ever shot for ever likes to see empty seats. You should be doing everything that you can to shoot from an angle that makes the sanctuary look the most full. If you're shooting with a wide lens, try to shoot at a 45-degree angle to the congregation. The diagonal angle of the crowd will help conceal empty spots. If you do have a longer zoom lens, try to find full, compact groups of people. You can shoot down through them to make the sanctuary look more full. This technique is often used in film to fill a space with only a few extras. So the sermon is coming to a close and it's time for the big leagues. The altar call. This is where you're most likely to feel the most uncomfortable shooting. Life transformation is happening. Tears are flowing. Emotions are high. The whole 9 yards. More than any other time, you want to be invisible, but that's not really possible. Altars are typically highly visible and dense with people and, in my experience, unpredictable flying raised hands. I've taken my fair share of worshipful slaps to the back of the head. Many churches that I've been to understandably ban the use of photography during the altar call. Like I said before, a good photo of a powerful moment should always be its second in priority to the moment itself. But I've got a secret that has allowed me to shoot hundreds of altar calls without ever being confronted by a disgruntled congregant. Worship while you work. Seriously. In addition to running the media marketing department in my church, I also happen to volunteer as a drummer on my worship team. When playing the drums on a Sunday, it takes a lot of mental acuity and concentration to do what I need to do. Arguably, there's more weight on my shoulders as a drummer in regards to the success of the service than a photographer. That being said, no one has ever told me not to worship while I play. Obviously, my mind and body are busy maintaining a beat and following the worship leader, but my spirit is engaging in worship. You see, worship is often used as a synonym for worship music, but that's really only a small portion of what it really is. Simply put, photographing a service can and should be viewed as an act of worship. You're using the gifts and abilities God has given you to bless the body of Christ and to spread his name. That is important work. That's kingdom work. That's worship. While you're shooting an altar call or the sermon or worship or whatever, you should be participating in the service. Sing along with the music. Listen to the sermon. Pray for people at the altar as you photograph them. You won't be viewed as an outsider if you don't act like one. In my opinion, this is easily the most important piece of the puzzle for successfully photographing a church service. It's not always...
Okay, so what did y'all think about that video? Anything y'all grasp with it? No takers? Tell me one thing, nomás. One thing. What happened? Be respectful. Yeah, that's really important. We don't want to take pictures of someone that doesn't want their picture taken. So if you see someone, usually make contact with the person before you take the picture. And you see they give you a side eye or something, no, mejor evitar. So, and if someone comes up to you and they're like, hey, like, you took a picture, I don't like it, can you delete it, please? It's fine. Tell them, okay, I'm sorry, let me delete it. It's not worth losing someone to come to church because they're taking a picture of them. So if someone doesn't like it, delete the picture, say I'm sorry, and mental note, we'll have a blacklist over there. We're not to take pictures of, but anything else? What did you get out of the video, Joanna?
I really like what he said, like it's no matter if you're photographing or whatever, but like be part, like also participate.
Mm-hmm.
He was like sing along,
Right, yeah, because it doesn't look like you're just out to get pictures. You get mixed in with the crowd. Daniela, anything? Right. Yeah. Because I know that the pastor has told me in the past, like especially when using this camera right here or the crowd camera over there, he told us not to use it when there's not a lot of people. Like the guy said, they don't like when there's no seats filled. So try when you're taking a picture, if there's like, try to like reduce your focal point. If you can take a picture, just try to focus on one section. Don't get everything because it might be the front's full but the back is not full, or like the back's full but the front's not full. So it's just like you have to play with it, not to get everything. Okay, so me. Uh-huh. Right. Right. Yeah. Plan what you're gonna do. So it's not like you're gonna have another go at the at the worship team. So like if you're like, oh, I want to take a picture of the worship team, and then you're taking a picture of someone else in the back, and then you come back, and then you come to the front, y ya se terminó la alabanza, you don't have another go. So just plan beforehand. Plan if you want to take a picture of the worship team, picture of the worship team, then the pastor. You don't have to take a lot of pictures of the pastor, just one or two, because I mean, no hay mucha diferencia. It's basically like the pastor's not gonna move; he's gonna stay there. Um, Nancy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just try to not be a distraction. Good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. So, what's one thing that ruins more pictures than anything else? Any guesses? It's simple. Not a trick question. Not a trick question. People? Okay, yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. Sometimes you're like, te mira and then like sometimes those fails, yeah. But yeah, no, for real. Sometimes they're not that attentive. Any other guess? No. Okay. Blur. You had it. You're thinking about it. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if your composition is right, or si la light está bien, or like it's really really nice setting. If your vision, I'm thinking about work. My bad. if your picture's blurry, they're not gonna use it. So it's really important for you to make sure that your picture is in focus, because blur is one of the things that messes up the image. Oh. Okay, composition. So a lot of people that are here, some of them stayed for the videography. Almost the same thing for photography. So composition is basically you have a scene, right? You want to see, okay, what do I want to capture? Do I want to capture just these two guys in the front and then the background? Do I want to capture just one guy with the trees, or do I want to capture just the bus with the mountain, or just the balloons, or just one balloon? So you have to know what picture you want to take. You can't just go just start snapping pictures and just wait for the best. You have to know what your subjects are, what your background is, and vice versa. Same thing, like in videography, rule of thirds. So we have these little lines in a grid. It's basically like a grid that we try to get the subject or whatever you're taking a picture of to try to balance out the picture. So we want to either get the subject in the middle, in the side, or make it eye pleasing, basically. So basically, rule of thirds, when you divide the picture into thirds, both vertically and horizontally, locate the center of the interest at one of the intersections of the lines, marked in green. So the center is the 4 green points. You can create a feeling of, and it's like it depends. So if you want to make a moody or a bad feeling, you use the rule of thirds for your advantage. So right here we have an example. So if you see right here, we have this chair, right? Oh, my bad. If you see right here, we have this chair, okay? So right here, you can see the rule of thirds. So you see it's intersecting right on top of the chair. So the top right, top left corner, you can see it's intersecting right there, the rule of thirds. Right here, we have another example. So we want to see the rule of thirds. It's intersecting. The circle's intersecting right at the little crosshairs. Right here on this right side, we're seeing it's balanced out. It's in the middle. Okay. Rule of thirds. She's right on the upper section. Contrast. So basically, we won't do a lot of contrast here, but basically contrast is just you use colors to your advantage to get the interest of the subject or the picture, the person that's looking at the image. So right here, what's grabbing our attention? The bird right there, right? Why? Because it's white and the background is black. So that catches our eye. So maybe like when we're doing editing or something, we can do that with contrast. Balance. So a lot of us really like to have everything balanced. People sometimes have OCD and stuff, so like they have to like have everything really perfect. Same thing for photography. If there's something off in the picture, it's gonna look off, and people are not gonna like it. So we have to get everything balanced, everything uniformed. So as right here, right, we can see the tower is right in the middle. Symmetry, same thing. Okay, light and shadows. So light and shadows can be used in composition to create a mood. So if we want to create, like take a picture and it's like a really sad picture, we're not gonna use like a lot of sunlight and brights. We're gonna use a lot of darkness, not a lot of light in there. Framing is a technique that photographers use to direct viewers' attention to a main subject. So framing is basically you're like, I want this thing to be the center of the picture. I want this to be the focal point. We'll skip that. Where am I? So basically the same thing. So lines. So always try to have your lines straight, or like either going from left to right, or from north to south. Skip that. Color. So that's like if you're a little bit into photography, more like abstract photography, you'll start taking notice of colors. So one thing that I wanna emphasize, I don't know if y'all can see that, but basically, for our photographers, I want to start doing a checklist, basically. So starting right now for nuestro aniversario, whoever's gonna do photography that day, is gonna have to come out with a checklist. So what do they want beforehand? So this is an example. So before service, what's the photographer gonna do? Parking lot pictures, the greeters, the ushers in the front, people dropping off their kids, but we don't have that. So, but take pictures of little kids. We're gonna, during the worship service, what does the photographer need to do? Take pictures of the music or the worship team, close-ups, the congregation, the announcements, the preacher walking on stage. If there's gonna be like, I know we have like special times for like este ministerio or something. Well, if you know that que van a estar ellos en el ministerio, we have to go and take pictures of them. So like ministerio de misioneritas or like ministerio de hermanas, they're gonna go up, take a picture. Just be prepared for that. So basically, right now that's what I want. Just every photographer to like have a checklist, not to just be taking pictures randomly, just to know what you're gonna take. So, like for example, like I took some pictures for my mom when they did their 25-year anniversary. I did a checklist también. So I was like, okay, I want to take this picture, because else I'm gonna forget. And it really worked because I had my camera and I had my notes, my phone. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take this picture and take this picture. Oh, and take a picture of the cake and take a picture of the dress. So that really helps you. So same thing for church. We want to make a checklist. Um, Eventually, we want to start having meetings. Once our photography groups grows, we'll have meetings. So like see, have the checklist. Either it will be given to you, or you're gonna make it and be like, okay, this is what we took last time. This is what we like. This is what we don't like. But right now, basically, we just want the photographer to be in charge of their own checklist, so we don't have to be like, hey, like this is what you want. This is what you need to do. So it can be easier for them. So I'm gonna give the spotlight to Paola. She's gonna give us some tips right now. She's the one that's been taking a lot of pictures lately. I think she's been doing a good job, really good job. So she's gonna just go over some tips that she wants to give us and anything that can help, basically.
Okay, so I'm not a professional photographer. I've been learning as I go. So I'm not. This is like my own experiences and that what I've like think that has worked best for me and I've worked on as I've been learning how to take pictures. Um, I like to become familiar with the place. Like before church starts, I like to like how there's sometimes like any special thing going on. I like to come in like if I can. Right now I haven't been able to because I have class, but like as soon as I come in, I like to be familiar with like the decorations that there is, like what is going on in church. I like to take pictures of like the solo decorations that sometimes like that is cute things to like take pictures and that can be used later. There's also uh, clothing. Like this is a perfect example of like what not to wear whenever we're taking pictures. Like yes, it's black. Like it's good to wear black because it's more easier to blend in. We have the shirts of FDB Media, and that helps a lot. And with like people letting you be and do what you want to do, but like heels, that is like horrible. If you want to like be fast around, like I know some of y'all don't wear heels, but like I wear heels. So whenever I know that I'm gonna take pictures, like don't wear heels, wear comfortable shoes. Like my shirt, it can get stuck in chairs. Like it doesn't seem likely, but like my shirt is like so, how's it called, like it can get stuck. My skirt, even though it's like it's long, yeah, but like I think it would be best if like it's a little bit shorter, like just right below the knee, because like it does get stuck on the chair as well. Whenever I'm trying to walk fast, move between people, like it gets stuck in like there's this little girl with a wheelchair, like I got stuck there once. There was the chairs, they get stuck. It can get stuck in any place, and then like it's just better if you wear like comfortable like fitted clothing, because like that makes it easier to move, that makes so you don't get stuck around places and accidents don't happen, because accidents do happen. um, you can take because I know some of us like where we get like embarrassed sometimes, so, like people we know, like I feel like it's best if we start with people who we know and are comfortable with us taking their pictures. That way we can start like kind of like getting used to like taking pictures throughout the service. um, Act like you belong. I know that we heard it in the video and then David repeated it, but like it's better if you act like you belong, like what you're doing, like that's mm, like don't get embarrassed about it, because like that makes it like you're acting shy, and like you're like people are like in your way and you're like excuse me, like, and you're trying to take a shot, and like because you're shy, um, it it stops you from taking the shot. And so like just act like you belong, like you own the place basically, because I know like Nancy here, like I haven't seen neither Sulmi or Daniela how they work, but I know Nancy, like I don't remember what it was that she was taking pictures for us. And I remember seeing her from the front, like how shy she was. Like I told her to like, cause the preacher that they had asked me to take pictures of him praying with people. So he gave permission to like, to go in there and like take pictures really close. And Nancy, like I told her that, and like she was very shy about it. And like with all the crowd of people, like the preacher's over there and Nancy's over here trying to take a picture, and like it's not like act like you belong. Like I know it's gonna be a little bit hard with all that is going on, but like there's ways to go around it. Like just take your time and like look around the place and figure out where you want to go and to less disturb the people. There's also be friendly with the people. There's sometimes that I be making eye contact with people that they be looking at me weird, and like if you smile, like they smile back, and that's how you can know that that they're okay with it and they're comfortable with you taking a picture. If they don't smile, like just move on. Like it's not worth it. But if you smile and like sometimes I go and like the person just keeps looking at me, like I go and show them the picture because that makes them feel more comfortable. I feel like that gives them a chance to tell you like I don't like that picture, like instead of like them, because like some people are shy, they will not come and tell you that, oh, can you erase the picture, but they might get resentment and like they'll be like, oh, they take pictures there, like I don't like that. And so it can cause problems. But like maybe if you see the person is looking at you weird and you already took the picture, like maybe if you go and show it, and like you might give them a chance to tell you like, oh, I don't like that, please don't just erase that. And so like you give them a chance for that. I like to go in the back whenever after like I take pictures of the front. I like to go throw a service all the way to the back and look around the place. Like I see the pictures, see which ones like, if I took good pictures or if I need to take more. I also like to look around if people are recording, because sometimes like people get mad about that. Like if you're trying to like move in a place and you get in the way of a person recording, like they get upset about that. But if you look around, take a moment and see the empty seats that you can go and take a good picture at, like it's easier to just like quickly move there whenever you already know where you're going, instead of like you move already there and like then you're looking around like, oh, where can I take a seat, where can I like try to take the picture. Let's see. I also like to like know the schedule. Like on normal church, like we already know how the schedule goes, but like how in this how's it called, the anniversario that we're having, like it's better if we like whoever knows the schedule, like to know the schedule beforehand, because like sometimes it's like they do worship first and then like cut it in half, someone does something else and then continue. And so like it's best if we know like what's going on, because like what if we're already took pictures here and we're trying to take pictures of the crowd while someone else is walking in, when we can take pictures about them. And well, also explore, like don't be afraid to explore. We will have chance to take more pictures of something, because we will get a chance to get a good picture, but like make sure to explore, taking pictures in one direction, the other direction, and keep in mind like what you want that picture for, like what you can imagine that picture for. There's sometimes that there's the pastor preaching and like you could take a good picture where they can use it to like put a text on, like put an announcement, put a message on, like, oh, we need pictures for Father's Day. Father's Day is coming soon. Like try to take pictures of for the parents without knowing, and like things like that. Like it helps for media whenever we already are preparing for future events and all that type of stuff. So it's not much, but yeah.
Thank you very much. Paula's been doing a really good job. I'd like to thank her for her work. I know that we don't get paid for this, but we do this for God. So always try to do our best. And I think those tips really help us a lot, especially the ones that are going to start getting into photography, because she's really done that in the past. Another point I wanted to touch on is that it's really hard. It's really easy to get caught up with camera brands and lenses and, oh, you have this camera, or we have this camera. This camera's better. To a such extent, yes, and there's some better cameras than others, but really the skill is the one that matters. Basically, you can take really really good pictures with a really affordable camera. Obviously, a expensive camera, professional camera helps. Um, with makes maybe it makes it a little bit more easier to take the picture at the right moment, but it doesn't really matter. It's just the skill. So the goal today is just to, well, the goal that not for today, but the goal that I want is for everybody to be familiar with our camera, the church's camera. If y'all want to use y'all's personal camera, that's fine. You don't have to use our camera, but you have to choose to use your camera. You have to obviously learn. If y'all feel more comfortable with your camera, as long as you know it really good, that's fine. But we would prefer for y'all to use our camera, so y'all can know our camera also. Because we wouldn't want for you to come one day, hey, be like, Daniela, come take pictures for us, and then that's gonna be a barrier for her. Be like, oh, I don't know how to use y'all's camera. I don't know how to use mine. I forgot mine. Well, we have a photographer that doesn't know how to use our camera. So basically, it's good that she knows how to use the church's camera. So we're gonna go ahead and go over the camera. So the camera is in this little bag, right? About a little bag, because eventually you want to start taking it. So like if the holiness go to like a camp or something, we have to assign this camera to someone. Basically, we're not there yet, but eventually that's what we want to do. So our camera is the Canon EOS R8. This is a full frame camera. What that means is basically the frame. It's a bigger, really big frame. The sensor basically. This is a professional camera. So like if you're gonna take pictures like photography or wedding, you use a full frame camera. There's some other kind of cameras that have an APS-C or a smaller sensor, which basically it's the half of the size of this sensor. It's still good. It's a little bit more inexpensive, but basically this is the best. Basically, so right here with cameras, obviously we have these cameras have detachable lenses. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this apart. So the way you remove the lens for this camera, I'm gonna go ahead and put down my mic for a little bit. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, you're getting my beard, but thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, so basically, thank you. So we'll press the button and we'll twist, right? That removes the lens. Simple. A lot of cameras are like this. So we really have to be careful not to get any dust in the sensor. Even putting your fingerprint on it, it's gonna get it dirty, and you won't take good pictures on it. So usually, when you're gonna change lenses, oh my bad. When you're gonna change lenses, you have to have the other lens ready. So a lens change, basically, I will have the lens ready, right? Get the cap off, front cap, back cap. Press the button. Remove the lens. Grab the other one. There's a little red line right there. That's going to show you how where it's supposed to go. So the red line always goes in the middle. And then you click it. And then that's how you change the lens. So right here, this lens, typical lens right here, is a 50 millimeter lens. So this is basically like your portrait lens. So like if you're going to take a picture of someone, you want a blurry background, you're going to use this one. Why? Because this one goes all the way to 1.8 aperture. What's 1.8 aperture again? It's when you get the really focused person and blurry background. The zoom lens gives you greater versatility when taking pictures. So this lens gives you the aperture from focal length from 24 to 105. So this is basically like 4 lenses in one. This one you can't zoom in. This one, if you want to take a picture, you have to either get close or far away. With this one, you can zoom in. The only downfall of that lens right there is that the aperture is not as there's a limited aperture to it. So right here on the lens it says, what does it say? So the aperture is 7.1, f4 to 7.1. So you can't go lower than 4, and that's like all at 24 millimeters. So basically, I think right now, like, if you're gonna just try to get pictures like fast, it's better for you to use the zoom lens. Now, if we're gonna take a picture for like an announcement or something, where you don't have a lot of like stress of getting really close to people or stuff, we would use this. This lens, it's a better lens than this lens. It gives you better quality, but it's not as expensive as this lens. This lens is way more expensive because it's a zoom lens, but this one gives you better quality pictures because you can do f.8. It's more lighted. Okay. Do you want to give a tutorial how to use it, or like how to turn it on and stuff, or? Well, that's fine. I got it. That's okay. So basically, how do you turn on the camera, right? I don't know if you can how do we do this? Okay, so I'll hold it like this. All right, so how do you turn on the camera? Basically, you have 3 switches, 3-way switch right here. So you have off, lock, or on. So if you want to turn it on, you go all the way to on, right? And that's how you turn it on, basically. If you lock it, what does lock mean? It means that it's not gonna move, either on or off. It's gonna stay there. So let's see. Okay. So once you turn it on, we're gonna start getting this screen right here, right? So right here this is your info panel. It tells you if you're level, if you're not level. And then we have this dial right here. So this dial is really common on a lot of cameras. So it's your M stands for manual mode. So it means it's not gonna think for you. You have to do everything manually. So change the ISO, change the aperture, and change the shutter speed by yourself. If you go to program, if you go to AV, A+, that's like a auto intelligent mode, basically. It's like AI, so it's gonna shoot for you, basically. So this has dual pixel autofocus, so you don't really have to worry about the autofocus. So like, let's say if I want to take a picture of Nancy, it's gonna it's gonna catch to her eye, basically. So there's gonna be a square, green square in her eye that's gonna capture the autofocus. Okay. Let me see. So basically, on the auto mode, you can't change anything. Basically, with the all you have to do is just zoom and take a picture. We really want to start using the manual mode, because you can really use the camera like it's supposed to. So, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it comes out in the video right now. I just want to show them. So I'm gonna get close to y'all right here. So if y'all can get close. Okay. Okay, so this is what I was saying. So this is the AI mode. So if I'm gonna take a picture of Joanna, you see that little square, Daniela, come here. You see that little square right there? That's the autofocus. And then once I press the shutter, I'm pressing the shutter, but it's not taking a picture until I press it. See that? You see the square?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means I'm focused. This is your level right there. So it tells you if you're level or not. So that's really good. Yeah, and then so like you see right there's another one. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna take a picture of it. No. Okay, so that's like, so if you don't know what to do like during ISO or something, just put it to A plus, and the camera's gonna do everything. Okay. Eventually, you want to start taking videos with this camera. So how do we do that? We have this little toggle switch right here, which is camera, and then have a little video thing right here. So what we're gonna do is just toggle it, and that's video, and that gives you all the video settings. But if we're taking pictures, we'll just switch it right there. So let's say if we go to manual mode, right? Because I remember how I told you you can't do anything in auto mode. It does everything by itself. Now, if you switch to manual, it says manual exposure, set the desired shutter speed and aperture. That's what we talked about. So now we start getting all this. Remember we talked about 1/640, f7.1, and then the ISO is auto right now. So that means it's just that the camera's gonna choose the ISO, which is fine. We can leave that as auto because I think the camera does a good job getting the ISO. So let's do something right here. So what happens if I move the shutter speed? So how do I move the shutter speed with this one right here? So if I go up, you see how the shutter speed gets 1/4000, but it got really dark. So remember how I told you that everything's a balance. So if I go 5 seconds, it got super bright. What happens if I take a picture in 5 seconds? I'm gonna have to wait 5 seconds to get it. Right? That's not a timer. It's not a timer.
No, but like,
Yeah.
let's say you're.
No, it's not, because it's gonna make if the person moves. Yeah, if the person moves, it's gonna look blurry. So like, remember, we would do this like if we're doing a waterfall picture or something like that, or if it's rainy and you want that effect. Usually, we do 1 to 250. That's pretty fast. So if we want something really fast, but you see how it got really dark. So the aperture, now we have to fix it. So with the aperture, f.4, the ISO is auto. So this is maybe we need to crank up the ISO now. So ISO 100 is dark. But see, that's really extreme. So if we take a picture of 10,000, what is that? Yeah, 10,000. Dang, that's a lot. That's a high number. Okay, so that's gonna give us a grainy picture. So it's basically you have to know what you're gonna do. So basically, like I said, so we usually shoot over 1/250. But now what happened? Now it's really overexposed. It's really bright. So that's why we should have it in autofocus. So we put it 100, which is typically what we want. It's too dark because we're inside. So we go auto, and the camera selects for you. And if you hold the shutter, it tells you. So it's shooting at an ISO of 16,000, 1,000. It just depends. It changes. So like I said, on this camera, I can't really do the blurry. On this lens, I can't do the blurry background because I have the zoom. So it's versatile because I can zoom, but I can't do the blurry background, right? So if I want to do the blurry background, I have to change lenses. So go ahead and turn it off. Hold the camera. Turn it off. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and change the lens. Okay, so go ahead and change the lens. Remove the lens. Okay. So there's a little red line right there. You'll line that to the red line. There we go. Now turn it back on. Okay. Okay, so now with that right there, obviously we can't zoom, right? So, but we unlock, has an aperture of 1.8, I believe. So now with the aperture of 1.8, we can lower it down. What does that do? So now if I take a picture of Joanna right here, let me see. So look, I'll take a picture with my hand right here. So if I take a picture of my hand, what is that gonna do? You see the blurry background? So, take a picture of the mic.
Take a picture of this and I can blur.
And then we can choose. So I'm choosing the lens right there. If I want to choose Joanna, I'm choosing Joanna.
Does it blur?
The lens kind of comes out blurry, right? We can't do that with the zoom lens. So like that's what I'm saying. So if you want to take a picture of like a nice portrait picture or like something for a what was I gonna say, for announcement or something, you would use this kind of lens. I know that I've challenged Paola a lot of times. Hey, use this lens. And then she has to go and get really close to the people, or like not really, really close, because this is a really normal focal length, but it's a little bit more challenging because you can't just zoom. And sometimes with the photography, photographers get lazy, and they just want to use zoom and zoom and zoom. So it's best to know that you can just get close. I know that in church environment is hard sometimes, but you just have to walk around. So basically, I just want to pass the camera around and have each one of y'all change the lens, turn it off, turn it back off, and change the ISO, the aperture. So we'll turn it off. I always say screen cleaning. So let's go ahead and change it.
What does this do?
That's the focus ring, but we're not using it. That's all.
Oh, me? You want me to change the thing too?
Yeah, go ahead and change it.
Or just turn it on?
So obviously, when you change the lens, you always have the camera off because you can damage the sensor because the sensor is light sensitive. So if you change the sensor and the camera's on, you can burn the sensor out, and that's a $2,000 camera. So we don't want to do that. What time is it? Anybody have the time? 2:17. Okay.
Oh, it's 'cause I'm recording.
Okay.
Oh, our eyes were closed.
Turn it off. Turn it off and change the lens. You have to collapse it. You might damage the lens. Yeah.
Why did you do it to me like that?
So line up the red with the red. There we go. Now turn it on. Okay. So now go ahead and change the aperture. So use this right here. So you see how it's changing? And this is your shutter speed. And that's it basically.
Oh, that's a nice picture.
Okay, turn it off. Turn it off. Okay, that's fine. Okay. No, she did. She doesn't have to do it. So go ahead and just go turn it on and go over the settings. Go over the settings, the aperture. So change the shutter speed. You see it changing? So what happens if we do a slow shutter speed? Keep moving your hand. Let's say maybe 1/10. You see how our hand's like all blurry? If we do a high shutter speed, it's gonna freeze it. You see? So that's shutter speed. And aperture, remember, is right here.
What was that one?
This one. So basically, you just have to worry about aperture, and shutter speed. If you need to change ISO, you can just click this. It's automatic. But let's say if the camera's messing up, you just click it. You just click it, and then you just change it. Because it has a. If you go over here, it turns off. And then basically, when we're taking a picture, we want to use the viewfinder. It's better to use the viewfinder on the screen. So we just go like that. Instead of going like this. I mean, you can, but you get a better image. You'll see it better if you go like this. Yeah. Yeah.
Pero cuando lo miro por el screen, ahí sale mejor. Porque lo que miro en la screen es lo que me sale a mí.
Yeah, con la screen. Y luego si lo miras por viewfinder, es lo que tú miras. Pero like, no sale la foto así.
Cuando le bajas la light.
Es que en DSLR is different.
Ya, por eso te digo.
Remember?
Todo depende.
This is mirrorless. So DSLR has the mirror. So everything you change on you're not gonna see it in the viewfinder. You're gonna see it in the screen. And this one you can. Everything you change in the settings, it changes in the viewfinder. So good. All right. Yeah. Have you decided what you want to eat? I'm hungry, man. Okay. Here you go, Nancy. Because you're first. You're in front. She moved back. I know what she did. She moved back. Okay. Make sure it's off. Okay. Go ahead and change it. So always put it face down. Yeah, like that. Because you want to get dirt on the glass inside the sensor. So yeah, you have to take that off. You can put the camera down if you want, but yeah. Okay, now turn it on. Now change it to auto mode, which is the A with the green. Okay, good. Now press OK. Now go back to manual. There we go. All right, now lower the aperture. That's for shutter speed. So aperture is gonna be this one. So look at the screen. So right now, so bring it up. So you see the aperture is going up. Wait, it's not. Oh yeah, it is. There we go. So it's going up to 5. Now bring it down to 1.8. Okay, now bring the shutter speed to 1/250. Okay. Now take a picture, a portrait of your sister. Que se mire blurry the blurry background, and for her to be on focus. Use the viewfinder. Use the viewfinder. No, use this. No, you put your face in there and look through that. Remember, get her on focus and then get the blurry background. Use the shutter speed. Use the shutter right here. So basically, so look. If I want to get her on focus, right now she's blurry, right? So I'm gonna lightly press the shutter. It's gonna focus her. Okay. So let's say I want to take a picture of Paola. She's out of focus, right? Lightly press the shutter. It gets her on focus. I'm not. I'm lightly pressing it. And then once I'm ready, it takes it. Okay. You can stop the recording. Yeah, I'm not gonna play the other videos. It's later on. I don't have time. You got it? Yeah. Okay.